I find the idea of custom moves in Smash 4 interesting to discuss. Customization is something that's been present in video games for a long time. It spawned where it is still most present and valuable, which is the RPG genre. It was the basis of what those classic games were. You took on the role of an adventurer, and although your story and path were always the same in every playthrough, the way you went about the path wasn't. The way you faced the challenges along your journey wasn't. The roleplay existed in the gameplay, what you customize about yourself, your skills, your attributes, your abilities, your gear, and your strategy in combat. In very complex game systems, almost no two players have the same combination of customizations. And that's kind of what's cool about some video games. You get this feeling of individuality, of agency. There's a lot of value in being able to choose what you find to be the most entertaining and efficient way to overcome challenges. And when you overcome said challenges, that feeling of satisfaction you get is so much more powerful, because you did it in the way you thought was best. In fighting games, this exists in a way as well. Going back to the oldest, most basic fighting games, say the first Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter on arcade machines, they all had a diverse cast of characters to choose from, and the characters weren't just diverse in how they looked, like let's say in something like Mario Party, they were diverse in how they played, and that created a similar scenario. You, in playing the game a few times, testing out different characters, feeling them out, seeing what you like about some of them and what you don't, winning and losing with them, you end up having one or two or a few characters that you like the most over all the others. Characters that you find are the best or simply that work the best for you. Characters you win the most with and have the most fun playing. And that is the basis of customization in fighting games. And like in RPGs, it varies from person to person. It provides that feeling of individuality, because you see the people you play against use different characters for different reasons. You all have different ways to play, different opinions about who is better, and it all gets reflected in the characters you use. Now, obviously there's a limit to individuality in fighting games. Many people use the same characters for the same reasons, but there is diversity. The vastness of it depends on the options the game provides. As time goes on, identities are created with the characters that become our quote-unquote mains. Like let's say a group of people you get together with to play Smash. In this group, your brother isn't just your brother, he's the Captain Falcon who loves to go for stylish shit. Your best friend is also the cold, calculated villager who enjoys frustrating his opponents with projectiles, forcing them to approach and play his game. Your other friend is the Diddy Kong who's great at dominating the neutral game, reading all your options and retreating and attacking at the perfect moments. Your other friend is that Charizard who prides himself on winning with an underused, undervalued character and pulls off amazing, unexpected shit to kill you at 40. I really love that level of individuality is present in Smash 4, and a lot of it is because of the vastness of the roster, among other things I'll mention. Now, in the competitive scene, where people's main focus is winning, their choice of character will revolve mostly around that, especially if they're professionals. But what I'm talking about is still valid here. There is tons of diversity in between the top players of the game. They all play to win, but regardless, they play with the characters they think are the best, with the characters that work best for them in the way that works best for them, the characters they feel the most comfortable and confident with. They each have their own preference and customization, and thus their own identity. I'm sure some of you related the examples I gave before to top players, even if not with the exact same character. I know I did. And it goes way beyond 3 or 4 characters. Smash 4 has, I'd say, about a constant 12 to 15 characters in a major's top 8, on average, without counting unexpected counterpicks and just unexpected player showings, of which we've seen a lot of recently. And that's awesome. It would suck if we only saw the same 3 or 4 characters in the top 8. We also see a lot of upsets in the pools of tournaments, people beating top level players in their top tier characters with widely considered subpar characters. This goes to show that in the highest levels of play, the game still has a lot of customization options. But why is there so much character diversity in tournament? The answer is balance. People aren't going to play with characters that they think they can't win with. Characters whose tools feel so lacking compared to others, and characters who lower their chances to win so much it feels not even worth it. Imbalance is the bane of customization whenever a difficult challenge lies ahead. Now, PvP is the first thing that comes to mind because usually nothing is more challenging than another person who wants to beat you as bad as you want to beat them. But let's use RPGs again as an example. Let's say you're playing an RPG in a certain way because that's how you've most enjoyed it. But here comes a challenge in which this way you've been playing simply won't work. Not because there's some restriction in how you can beat it, just because your way is not very effective. It kind of sucks compared to other strategies slash skills slash weapons, and you knew that as you played, you just found it more fun. So you try and get frustrated at the impossibility of it until you realize you have to switch tactics or you're never gonna fucking win. That's exactly how it works for competitive gameplay. Sure, you can go to tournaments and play and try to win with bottom tier characters. You might win some matches, you might get pretty far, hell, you might even win if it's a local. but you're giving yourself a significant handicap in your journey to success. Obviously, the strongest driving factor in success is always skill, don't get me wrong, but like I said, we're in a setting where people have worked just as hard and want it just as bad as you do, and with closer matching skill levels is when we see character advantages and disadvantages play the biggest role. Now, there's no such thing as a perfectly balanced competitive game. It's just unavoidable for some characters to end up being better than others, and for strategies to end up being better than others. And there's nothing wrong with that, that's just how it works. However, when you have certain aspects of gameplay be so much clearly better than others, so much more effective to win, when there's so much imbalance between characters, that beautiful aspect of customization in games I was talking about before is ruined. What we want to do more than anything when we play against people is to win. Whether it's a game, a match, or just one interaction, we want to win. That's why we play. And that doesn't necessarily mean tournament play. It could be just a group of people getting together at a house talking shit to each other. They all want to win too, though they probably don't care as much. And if we want to win, these other options in the game just feel useless. They feel like a cool niche thing to have to fuck around, but there isn't as much value to them as there would be otherwise. They don't feel like valid options. Luckily, Smash 4's characters, in my humble opinion, are very well balanced. The most balanced Smash game of them all. Very few characters feel completely unviable, and many have proven themselves on the big stage. Which brings me to the point of this video that has taken a while for me to get to, and that's custom moves. Smash 4 has a lot of valuable customization, yet somehow custom moves go completely against that. How is that fucking possible? If you're thinking, who fucking cares, they're not legal anyway, that's the point of this video. I wish they were. I wish they had been done better, because the idea of properly executed custom moves in Smash is fucking awesome. It would take customization past just the character and create multiple options and actually customize, like actually change how a character works. Even people who play the same character could have variety amongst themselves about what they think is better, or what works best for them. It would be more akin to RPGs, like picking a class, but inside that class there are different skill trees and different talents and abilities in said skill trees. In a simpler manner here, you pick a character and you set to find out which custom moves and combinations of custom moves you prefer. Smash is really the perfect game to have fighter modification because it works so well within its system. I know Mortal Kombat X has character variations, but I've never played Mortal Kombat X and I'm not very well versed in traditional fighting games. But what I understand is that you get 3 variations per character and each variation gives you some unique abilities and combos. They're basically like ability packs fitting in with some sort of character theme. Injustice 2 kind of recently came out, which has like a gear system that's supposed to be cool, but I don't know shit about it, so that's why I'm not talking about it. What's cool about the Smash customization is that it's not just packs which have certain different abilities. The equivalent of that, I guess, would be if you could only choose the specials as a joint combo, like this. But that's not how it works. You can choose any of the 3 options for any of the special moves without any restriction. A good amount of options, a total of 81 different combinations. It would be awesome for customs to be competitively viable. But why aren't they? Why don't they work? What's wrong with the customs in Smash 4? Firstly, I think it's obvious to say the developers didn't intend for customs to be used competitively. I feel like this time around they took the competitive scene into account, given the patches and everything, meaning that the result of the customs being how they were was probably deliberate. There's that you don't have all the customs right away. You have to unlock them through other modes, but the unlocking process is remarkably tedious. It's completely RNG, you have no way to consistently get custom moves. I mean, okay, you'll get at least one if you do classic mode, but you have no way to control which character you get them for. So you just get a few moves spread everywhere instead of for the character you actually want them for. It's retarded. There's that you have to enable custom moves on the select screen, which implies that this is a different mode that isn't supposed to be standard, and you can't just choose your loadout on the select screen. You need to have a custom character previously created elsewhere, which takes up an unnecessary amount of time and intertwines the custom moves with a completely unviable gear system. However, these are all things with respect to accessibility. Sure, they make using them in a tournament super impractical, but if players really wanted custom moves to be used, they could make it happen, and they did at one point. The biggest problems come from the custom moves themselves. So Smash 4's customization works because of balance, and the custom moves don't work kinda for the same reason. They're completely unbalanced amongst their counterparts for a lot of the characters, meaning that among the options available for a certain move, you have either a move that's just ridiculously overpowered, like whatever benefits the other 2 have are completely outweighed by this one. You have 2 that aren't bad, but the third one basically has more functions or does the same function more effectively, making the first 2 pointless. Or you have one move that just utterly fucking sucks and has no redeeming value whatsoever. No reason to pick it, so why the fuck is it even there? You basically only have 2 options. Now this awful imbalance ruins the value of customization of these moves for the reasons I've previously explained, but that doesn't necessarily make them worthy of a ban. Just because something's objectively the better option doesn't mean it should be banned, otherwise we'd have no top tier characters. The thing is, I'm not talking about them being too OP in gameplay, more about them being OP amongst themselves. The reason custom moves were banned, disregarding their impracticality, is because on a lot of characters, these best moves inclined to be picked were just anti-competitive. I tried to describe everything with detail, but for this it's hard to go beyond gimmicky. They were gimmicky. Games could result in you doing the same move over and over again because it was an amazing option in too many situations, or you could just get kills at such early percents that the death felt super cheap. Games revolved around abusing these certain moves, and it drifted the gameplay away from many of the cooler things about it that were cooler because one had to work harder to get it and not just press the B button. My Smash Corner did a great video about what makes something ban-worthy. He states that something being very powerful or even cheap doesn't necessarily deserve to be banned as long as it doesn't over-centralize the metagame. A great example used was Ice Climber's Wobble in Melee. Getting a basically guaranteed kill off a grab in any percent is pretty overpowered, and some might even consider cheap. But there are many ways to get around it, and there are characters that also have very overpowered moves or aspects about them. The point is that it doesn't take over the metagame. Melee top 8s aren't 6 to 7 Ice Climbers who got there by wobbling everyone, or who have to pick Ice Climbers so they won't get wobbled themselves. Often you don't even see an Ice Climbers player in top 8. So there's no reason to ban something if it's not so OP that the metagame revolves around it. Now if you transition this into the concept of custom moves, it doesn't work exactly the same way. At least I don't think it would. We didn't really experiment that much with them. What I'm saying is that it wouldn't create an abundance of the same character, but it would cause a character's metagame to revolve around abusing a certain move and basically remove the importance or necessity of cooler aspects of the character's development. The metagame of certain characters would evolve no further than spamming certain moves or focusing your entire game on getting that OP kill special. So in other words, it over-centralized the character's metagame. What custom moves needed to have competitive viability was balance. The developers needed to playtest these moves more efficiently to make sure that no move was too OP or too useless, because that goes against the inherent concept of customization. Also, besides balance amongst the moves, the specials themselves had to be balanced in the context of the metagame. Having 3 OP gimmicky specials for a slot wouldn't help their viability. Their design should have been kept in the same constraints they would keep any other move. And they needed to have more diversity. Now they don't have to vary in design like Palutena and the Mii's. For most characters, all custom moves are slight variations of the specific design of the original move. And that can work fine as long as there's diversity in its utility. I'll take Mario's up B as an example of customs done kinda well. You all know the first one. The second one removes hitboxes but is quicker and goes farther. And the third one is a strong as fuck Shoryuken, but it traverses less distance than even Dr. Mario's, I think, and it doesn't have a hitbox in the middle of it, only at the start and the end strong hit, making it hard to combo into. You have the standard one for good recovery and a solid combo finisher, but does nothing amazingly. You have one that's a ridiculous combo finisher to have for Mario and his up air combos, and a great kill option in many other scenarios, but it is not that easy to get and it severely hinders his recovery. And you have a no hitbox move if you want to maximize distance in your recovery. Now I'm not going to say these moves are perfectly balanced. Given Mario's kit, the Shoryuken is a bit too good, being able to kill ridiculously early. You can still combo into it sometimes, and if you can't, it's still pretty deadly 50-50. I think the knockback would have to be nerfed a bit, and also the lack of hitbox on the super jump is counterproductive for good recovery. So I'd say make it even faster and extremely lagless so you can mix people up by landing on the stage or platforms. Taking these moves this way, you have 3 moves that all rely on the same design, all make sense thematically, but have significant differences in its situational utility and are reasonably balanced amongst themselves. A quick footnote is that it may be too difficult to get this balance and unique utility out of the same design, so it wouldn't hurt having them be real different like for the Mii's. It would be fun to see more than anything. I think the Pokemon could get a lot out of this, given the moves taken out of the original game. But alright. Now, like I've said, imbalance is impossible to avoid. For Mario, the Shoryuken is probably still the better one, and I'm sure if the developers work super hard on the next game on customs, some moves in the same slot are going to be clearly better than others. That's just kind of the nature of game design. But they just need to be balanced enough for players to feel like they have real options most of the time, unlike it is now. I really like the idea of custom moves being present in the competitive scene of Smash 4, because it adds another even deeper layer of customization. Those identities I was talking about before will go beyond the character depending on what moves each person chose. Sure, all 81 combinations wouldn't be equally viable, but if a fair amount of them are, then you have the opportunity for so much variety. You could potentially adjust a character to a player. Say a character is better off being defensive, but a player likes to play aggressive, and they really like that character's lore. Custom moves could adjust them closer to that. Also, there's possible variation for characters with different matchups. Maybe a custom move helps more against a certain character than another one. It could create more balance in the game. For this, I'd say custom move switches should work like character switches, or at least similarly. You could also have 2 moves designed to work better together, to make choices harder. You could have extra moves that are better for free-for-alls or team matches. Jesus fucking Christ, there's so many possibilities. Alright, I'm asking way too much of Nintendo here. Anyway, more than anything, it brings the game closer to that level of customization present in RPGs, and I don't know, I just really enjoy it. I love that feeling of individuality when I choose how I want to go about things, and I love that feeling of satisfaction when I succeed that way. And I think that if done right, Smash could pull this off wonderfully. For me, this idea feels like a natural progression in the evolution of Smash. It doesn't change the core of the game, or the unique things about it, rather it expands on them, giving the series something fresh, new, and unique competitive-wise that could deepen the playing experiences for all players, be it the hardcore tournament goers or just the group of friends that get together to play amongst themselves, talk shit, and have fun.